fear. It's F-E-A-R. And we all have to have fear. If we don't have fear, we will not do anything. So fear, it's ingrained in us, in our DNA. Our amygdala, our brain, makes us scan the environment for anything to protect us. But sometimes we fear things from our own mind. They have no reality, no fact. It's only assumption. We assume that these are dangerous, but it's not dangerous. So how you see fear is very important. And sometimes if you see it in a positive way, it gets us off our bed and gets us to do what we are supposed to do. Hi, Arab. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. We were talking the last episode about procrastination, and you brought the subject of fear.
A big one.
Yeah.
A big topic.
True. And fear is it like generated by us, or only few people have fear, or is it where does it come from?
I think fear, if you think about it as a concept, it exists within our DNA from the time we were created till now. It's a method of survival.
Right. So it has a reason.
It has a reason.
To protect us.
Yeah.
So
remember the interesting fact about the brain.
Right.
It can't tell the difference between a threat to your life to something simple that we think is simple.
Yes.
Like a presentation or public speaking or so on and so forth. So
fearing of looking ridiculed.
Exactly. Fear of failure, fear of what a person might think of you, fear of messing up, making mistakes.
Right.
But then, if it's within our DNA, we know this. We're supposed to know this.
Right.
But does that mean then we can't function when we feel fear?
Well, according to my experience, we function.
We function.
Yeah.
We do it scared.
Right. I mean, during Corona, during, there are so many fears, but we survived. I mean, we did what we had to do, and we passed through. So fear is ingrained in us, and it's for a reason, to protect us. So we should look at it in a good way.
Partly,
yeah.
So
we understand it, kind of why we. It's like self management, right?
Correct.
So you know what makes you afraid of, and some people, they say, what you're afraid of, you started. Why is that?
Interesting way to put it.
Yeah. It's like the things that you're really scared of, just do it.
So face your fears.
Yes.
I think, because at the end of the day, we have this ingrained in us.
Yeah.
We're afraid of what? We're afraid of consequence.
Yeah, right.
We're afraid of failure.
Yeah.
Because if we
are afraid of the unknown. Yeah.
So if we don't do what's expected of us, there's a consequence.
Right.
We're afraid of that. If we make a mistake, there's a consequence.
Of course.
So when you're giving a speech, for example, and you forget what you're supposed to say.
What are they going to say about me? And I look bad, and how am I supposed to do?
I think the biggest thing that we need to really focus on is why is it that people have such a poor relationship with failure?
Oh, yeah. Because we all want to look good. We all want to look smart. We all want to look perfect.
Ah,
And there is nothing like this, right? No one is perfect except the creator.
exactly. And that semblance, that concept, I need to be perfect.
Yeah.
We learned it somewhere.
Right.
And I think from before, how we were taught was we need to look and focus on the results.
Okay.
The outcome matters. Like if you think about how you were graded back in school before,
Right. Oh, yeah.
they don't care if you show your work.
Right.
They'll only look at the answer.
Right. Right. And that's not fair, right?
It's not.
And you worked all the problems, especially calculus, for example.
Oh my God.
You worked all the problem in the right way,
It's
but
just
you missed
miscalculated.
Yeah.
Same thing with life. You could do all the right things, but still not get the outcome you want. That shouldn't be something that stops you.
Yes. Absolutely.
So, thing is, that's the fear of failure. We're afraid of failing. We're afraid of people judging us. We're afraid of how we look to people.
Yeah.
And that puts us in a position where sometimes we're afraid to make the move.
Yeah. We are in a box.
We put ourselves back in the box.
We are in a box, and we want to satisfy him and her and whoever, but we are not doing what we are supposed to do.
Exactly.
So how can I, for example, not care and not to worry about the end results? I just want to enjoy the process, or the progress or the journey itself toward that goal, or that and how do, for example, if somebody criticizes me,
Yeah.
I mean, how would my reaction be, or my feeling toward them?
So this is multi-layered at this point.
Right.
When we think of a person feeling the fear, the common misconception that people have is if you do something and you see someone who's confident, it means they have no fear.
Right.
It means they've perfected it.
Yeah, and no one can do that, right? Even the successful ones, they have fear. Why are we fearful? Fear is sometimes seen as not courageous, or you are not the champion, or you're not strong, or you're not courageous. But fear, it's not good or it's bad. Fear is something that how we see it, how we acknowledge fear. Fear is our body telling us that you are about to go in something that is very important. So the fear is your body telling you to be ready for it. Be prepared. Do your homework. Do the things that you need to be doing. So practice, rehearse. These are the things that what fears tell us to do. But sometimes we are overdoing it. We are so fearful that we freeze ourselves. We like kind of, put ourselves in a box, and we cannot move because we are afraid of the unknown. We are afraid of what will happen. Fear is a good thing. Fear is something that we all need. Imagine if we are not afraid. We will be in troubles. You know, if we are not afraid, for example, of the law, you know, we would not stop at the traffic light. We will not behave in a good way. So fear is something that governs us and makes us personally responsible for what we do. We need fear, but what kind of fear we need? That's the issue. Some people have a chronic fear, and chronic fear is that you are afraid all the time. And when you are afraid all the time, what will happen? You get stressed, and chronic stress, you get cortisol, and cortisol will lower your immune system and you get sick easily. What you need to do with fear is take it to your advantage and work at it and be prepared for whatever you want to face in life. And that's, you know, you can win over fear and use fear as a friend rather than enemy.
A lot of people, they tell you, you can't do things when you're afraid.
When you are
Afraid.
afraid, yes.
So they judge by the appearance, right? This person must not feel fear. That's why they're so successful. But they don't realize that's not the case. It's always with you.
They can hide it. Fear can be hidden. I mean, you know, I can be afraid talking to very important people on the stage, but it's only in the beginning, and I would know that I will be. Actually, if I'm not scared, that means it's not important.
I love that. I love
so
that.
so so being scared, telling you, it's like your body is telling you this is important, that we're, so you better be prepared. And
Precisely, which leads me to the next point.
Right.
When, you know, like when people come to me, if they prepare for public speaking, for example.
Right.
Number one fear in the world is public speaking.
Right.
If you are so afraid of speaking in front of people because you're afraid of mistakes, how you look, all of these things, and you think the only way that you can feel confident is if you don't have the fear, you're going about it the wrong way. Some of the most successful public speakers are afraid before they go on stage. The point is, what do you do about it?
Right.
And you mentioned something important, which is because you care, because this is important to you, prepare for it.
Right, exactly.
So practice.
Right, exactly. I mean, even, you know, one of the brilliant speakers that we know of, they say practice, 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 practice. I thought it's only practice, practice, and practice.
No,
but
and
then
practice some more.
It's
a non-stop cycle.
Right.
Because remember when we talked about the comfort zone? It's the same concept.
Right. We're getting away from the comfort zone. You're getting into the learning zone. The unknown, how you're going to look like, people judging you. All of these are impacting the fear itself and making us saying, let me stop, or I can't.
You know, we talk about fear of failure, and I think this is the most common one.
Right.
But here's a twist. Some people are afraid of success.
And why is that? I've always thought success is something good. And
it is.
Yeah.
It's never something bad, right? To be successful, to get your goals, to achieve them.
Exactly.
But for some people, they don't realize it. It's not something that's obvious that I'm afraid of success.
Right.
You'll know
It's hidden.
it's hidden.
Mm.
When? Because you're fearing the concept of the responsibility when you actually achieve your goal. What is it going to look like if I get there? If I achieve it, what else am I supposed to do?
Right.
So it's not just fear of failure, it's fear
So
of
when you
success.
advance in your job, like you become a team leader, for example,
Yeah.
and you wouldn't want that because you are having more responsibilities.
Or perhaps you're afraid of not being up to it. So it's still linked a little bit
Right.
to the fear of failure, but
Right.
there is a capability of you actually achieving your goal. But then you know what ends up happening because you're so afraid of what that will look like, the changes, the challenges, you start to self-sabotage. When you feel afraid and when you feel this feeling of fear, what is usually your first instinct? I want you to think about that because a lot of us have different responses to fear. And when fear first takes over, we have a natural instinct that we tend to go by, which is your fight, flight, or fawn response. Now, fight or flight is pretty straightforward, right? You either stand and face the challenge or you try to run away. But with fawn, you freeze. You don't know what you're supposed to do next, and you end up in a state of not moving. But what if I were to tell you that you can work with this feeling of fear? Instead of feeling afraid and then just letting things go as they go, think in terms of, I'm afraid, but this is a natural process. It's my body trying to keep me in my comfort zone. It's my body reacting to something it perceives as a threat, but may not necessarily be the case. Because there's no actual threat in actually trying to do a presentation, now is there? So in reality, our brains can perceive something as simple as giving a presentation or a speech in front of an audience as an actual threat to us in real life, when in reality, we know that that's not the case. So the best way to move forward with this is to understand one thing. Just because you see some people succeeding in life with full confidence, don't assume they don't have fear in their hearts. Don't assume they still don't get that nervous feeling right before something big. This is something natural. And instead of trying to repress it or work against it, let it stay there. Do things scared. Do things whether you're feeling nervous or not. Push yourselves, because chances are you're going to see even greater results come out of you. Because guess what? When you're afraid, it's because you care. You care, therefore there will be passion that comes with it. Roll with it.
So you start to, for example, be absent at work.
You slow down.
You slow down because you don't want to get there,
Exactly.
which is success, and you are afraid of
Which is
having
sad.
more responsibility. That's really sad.
Yeah.
That's really sad. And how we can like tell our people how to get to try that, at least to not to be scared, or
I think they need to go back to their why, their goal. Why are you doing what you're doing?
And would it be like subconsciously they're resisting?
Yes.
Without them knowing
It's
even?
not obvious. That's the problem. But they need to ask themselves. The minute they see a shift in their attitude, they stopped showing up the way they used to. This is when they need to sit down with themselves and be like, Why am I doing what I'm doing? Is this important or not? And get back into the flow of
They need a
progress.
coach.
They need a coach
To
probably
push
to help
them,
push
yeah,
them with that.
yeah.
Because that awareness is not
Right.
easy to come by.
Right. It's either the manager or an external coach that can, help them and see the potential in them.
Yes.
Usually it's the manager that sees, the potential in the
absolutely.
person and try to guide them through that. Yeah, interesting. Fear of success.
Fear of success.
Many people have it.
And they don't realize it.
Yeah.
So when we see someone with so much potential, suddenly
Yeah.
they drop.
That's the indicator.
It's an
That's the
indicator.
trigger
Yeah.
for us to find out why or what happened, and maybe communicate with them and talk to them
Exactly.
and find out and maybe show them the way a bit by bit.
Oh, yeah.
And show them the support that they will get when they get there. Like all of us, when we went there. I mean, I remember the first time I was like part of the team, and then a vacancy, and they told me you're gonna be. The next day, I became the team leader.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know how to deal with them. I was fortunate to have a good boss that I've learned from, and I used his model and his way. Otherwise, I mean, I was like worried. I mean, I'm now responsible for the people who were responsible of teaching me what to do.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
it can
not,
be scary.
Yeah.
It can be scary. But I also believe that regardless of the challenges you face, sometimes it's how you go about it that makes the difference.
Right.
So this is where how you deal with people matters.
Of course.
How you take responsibilities, it matters. How you deal with yourself also matters, right? Because at the end of the day, how you treat yourself first is what will impact the outcomes.
It always comes to you.
It always comes
to you, personally. Yeah.
Sometimes as human beings, we feel the need to work against the feeling of fear. But what I want you to try to consider is instead of working against it, work with the feeling. We are all going to be afraid one way or another of new challenges, new things that come our way. And more often than not, we are afraid of failure and we're afraid of success. But that shouldn't stop us from moving forward. The best thing that you can do is take a moment to yourself. Think in terms of what do you want to accomplish? How do you want to accomplish this? And do it while you're scared.